Hello, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have the 5 cards 1 kit with a bonus using the Pink and Main January 2020 box, which is called Love is in the Air. And as far as I know, it is still available, but I will have everything listed that I used in the description box down below. And if you missed the unboxing video, I will have that linked down below in the description box as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the first card that we made. I'm using some of the pattern paper that came in the kit, and I am trimming this down, just kind of using my tonic trimmer to see how I want it. So I decided I would cut it to 5.5 inches by 4 inches, and the only reason why I did 4 inches is because I wasn't exactly sure how much I wanted. So I'm going to trim off about an inch. I want to pop these little panels up with some foam tape, and I want to do some stamping on the actual card base. You'll see what I mean as we get going, but I just trimmed that down. And now I'm going to take my card base, and I'm just using a pencil to lightly draw where my lines will be, where the pattern paper is going to actually end up lining up. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this isn't, I don't really like how small that one piece is. I think I grabbed the wrong piece. So now I'm going to grab the bigger piece, and then I'll do the same thing with that bigger piece. And I'm not worried about the other pencil line because it's going to get covered up. So I'm going to grab some of the little hearts that are in the stamp set, and this stamp set is just adorable. And I'm inking those up with some of the ink that I have in my stash. I grabbed just different inks that I had, little ink cubes that would match the pattern papers that I have. And this is the pinkish red color that I have. And so I'm just stamping out the hearts, trying to make sure that I stay sort of in that strip, and it's okay that some of them are going to go outside the lines. It just kind of gives the illusion that there's some continuation. And yeah, so it doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but you'll see here in a minute what I'm talking about. I did cut down some of the ribbon that's in the kit. This is just some of the solid pink, and then I'm putting some score tape on the back of those. This is 1/8 inch score tape, and this is just the easiest way that I have found to be able to put down ribbon. I'm lining it up on my glass mat, and then I'll stick that down and wrap it around. So obviously those little pieces of ribbon were a little bit bigger than the panels I planned to put them on. It just makes it a little easier, and I'm trying to get this lined up because I want that ribbon to not look like it's necessarily continuing, but that it's not off too much, because you'll definitely notice that. And so then after that, I'm going to use some foam tape on the back of those panels. This is just some of my Brutus Monroe foam tape. Trimmed it down, and I've got all that on the back, both panels, and then I'll peel off the release paper using my paper piercer. And then I'll start to adhere those. Now you notice I got some ink on that, and I thought, doggone it, but it's okay. I end up actually covering it up. And so don't throw away your panels unless you've completely destroyed them. I will say that you can usually fix it with an embellishment or something. So the release papers were peeled off both of those, and now it just looks like those hearts are kind of recessed, which is nice. I took a piece of black cardstock that I have in my stash, and then I took my magic powder bag over the top of that. I'm going to ink up one of the love sentiments that's in this stamp set, and then I'll stamp that down using VersaMark ink, which is just a clear sticky ink, and I'll cover that with my white embossing powder, which is Alabaster. That's the embossing powder that I have from Brutus Monroe. Then I'll heat set that till that is smooth and melted, and you'll be able to tell because it'll be shiny when you hold it up to the light. It will lose that matte finish that it has. And then I trim that down, and then I'm getting ready to stamp out the other sentiment that I have. I'm going to stamp that up ink that up with my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is a nice dark deep black ink. I'll put some score tape on the back of both of my sentiments, and I'll even use just a tiny bit of foam tape on the one end because that will be hanging over, so I want to make sure that it is adhered well. And then I'll peel off those release papers and stick down the love, and see that covers up that little ink spot that I had. And I'm noticing I have another one now that I'm looking. But once again, you can cover it up with an embellishment. And then I'll peel off the release paper of those and tack down my sentiment from there. And then I will take some of the sequins that came in the kit, and I'm going to adhere those down using my crystal katana along with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. This is a liquid adhesive. It's great. And I basically stuck to the same color palette of all the sequins. I picked the ones out that I wanted. And then I'm going to fill in those just to make sure that they also stay put and that they're a little bit glossy using some Morning Dew Nuvo drops. These are clear. They will dry clear. They're a little milky now, but they will dry clear. And that will finish off our first card. I kind of like how that one looks. It's fun. Card number 2 may be my favorite because it uses this incredible stencil. I love that they included this in the kit. And what I'm going to do with the stencil, because it does have 3 parts to it, I want to isolate just the hearts. So I'm going to actually take these hearts and I'm going to kind of try and line that up on my panel. That is originally cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, so it'd be the whole front of an A2 size card. I do trim it down later. But I'm just going to take one of my blending brushes along with that yellow ink that I have, and I'm going to just sponge that over the top of those hearts. I'll clean it off in between, and then I'm going to move the stencil, and it's just going to overlap those yellow hearts just a little bit. So I moved this off to the left-hand side, and now I'm grabbing the orange that I have, and I'm just filling in those hearts with my blending brush as well, cleaning off my blending brush in between as well. And then I'll overlap just a little bit on the orange as well, and I'm going to grab that dark pink, almost like a pinkish red ink that I have, and then I'm going to do the same thing with it, just going all the way up the panel. I love these falling hearts, the falling stars, and like the falling confetti. Now I'll work my way on the other side, heading over on the right hand side, and I overlap that a little bit, and I grab the turquoise ink that I have and do the same thing with it. Clean off my stencil and my brush, and then I grab that very light pink or purple that I have. For some reason this purple really bled through, and it kind of made those hearts at the bottom really almost it kind of obscured them a little bit, but it's okay. You don't notice it that much unless you're really looking at the card. I did run the outline of the love die through on some of that pink cardstock that came in the kit, and I also ran the whole love die through on some white cardstock twice. I was going to do it 3 times, but I decided twice was enough. This was a thicker white cardstock that came in the kit, so I just lined that up twice so that this will be almost like a little bit of a chipboard feeling. And then I use my Nuvo Deluxe glue along with my reverse tweezers to put some glue on there, and then I'll stick those down on top of each other. I'll use that same Nuvo glue once again. I'm going to put it on the back of the white love die, and then I'm going to eventually adhere that down to the outline, that pink outline, which is so cute. I love that they included pink in here. And then I will start looking at assembling the rest of the card. But before I do that, I am going to stamp out another part of the sentiment. I did that on black using VersaMark ink and covering that with my white embossing powder. And I'll heat set that till that is smooth and melted, and that just says "and hugs." I'll adhere down my panel to my card base. And then I'll also adhere down the love sentiment using that same liquid glue. And then I'll adhere down the "and hugs" as well with some of that liquid glue. Just kind of overlapping the love just a little bit. And then I'm going to grab some of those enamel dots that came in the kit. These are so pretty. And I'm going to take the colors that match and kind of line those up with the hearts. They sort of get lost in the mix, but I know they're there. But I wanted those to look like they were falling with it as well. And then I'll do the same with the orange, grab some of the yellow and do that with the yellow. And really no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting them other than the fact that I just want them on the color that they go with. So the turquoise, and would you believe that in my inks, I didn't have any color that would match that, like almost like a deep purple blue color. I didn't have anything to match that, so I didn't use a color like that. Kind of sad, huh? But anyway, there it is. I am going to do one final bit of embellishment. I'm going to take the Nuvo White Blizzard, which is basically a clear, but it has glitter in it, and I love it. I love sparkle, so I'm going to go over the entire love die with that. And then once it's dry, it'll be nice and shiny. And like I said, this one may be my favorite. You know, you add a rainbow on something and I am all over it, like just, oh, I'm all over it. So that is what our second card looks like. We're going to ride that rainbow wave, and this card, card number 3, is going to do an ombre stamping effect using those rainbow ink pads that I have over on the side. So to start though, I am going to take my tree trunk and I'll line that up, and then I'll close the door of my MISTI, pick up the trunk, and then I'm going to ink that up with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And then I'll stamp that down, and then I'll clean up my mess, and I will grab out the hearts that are supposed to go over the top of this tree trunk. I love that that lines up. It's so cool. All right, and then we are going to close the door of the MISTI, pick it up, and then I'm going to start with my pink ink. Now, for whatever reason, these inks stain a stamp, which is fine. I don't really mind. It doesn't affect how you stamp or, you know, how it will stamp, but it does. These all stain. So you're going to notice it looks like I'm not cleaning off my stamp, but I absolutely am cleaning it off in between. Now, to do the ombre stamping, what you're going to want to do is you'll ink up the part that you want to be whatever color, and then on the edges, you're going to take your like a microfiber cloth or even a paper towel would work, and then you're just going to soften those edges by blotting. I had a hard time with that orange. But you just keep going back and forth until you have the look that you want. And you'll notice I have a big giant black smudge at the bottom there, which is fine. I end up taking care of that later. But now we'll move on to the yellow. Again, it looks like I did not clean off my stamp, but I absolutely did. And then the same process of softening those edges with my microfiber cloth. And then we'll eventually move on to the turquoise color at the bottom. And I think that is just fun. Just a fun look, and it just rides that rainbow wave that I love so much. I'm going to take a rectangle die that I have. This one's from My Favorite Things, and this one is a stitched rectangle. So I'm going to tack that down with some washi tape and run that through my die cutting machine. I did do the same thing with those other two panels that you see sitting there, those patterned papers. Those each have a stitched edge on them, and my card base is going to be some of that turquoise cardstock that came in the kit. This is a side folding A2 size card, and then I'm going to tack down my panel onto my card base using that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and then I'll do the same thing with each of the other pieces. I thought about popping them up, but I did plan to use a chipboard sticker, and so I didn't want to add too much bulk because I wanted this to fit through the mail nicely. So everything is getting adhered flat to the card, other than that chipboard sticker, which has a little bit of dimension, but not too much. And then I'll peel off the backing paper of that and stick it down. And then as a final bit of embellishment, I did grab out sequins from the kit that matched the colors, and I'm sticking those down using my crystal katana along with my Nuvo glue. And that will finish off card number 3. I'm very happy with how that one turned out too. For project number 4, I decided to make tags again. I just love making tags with these kits. I should be making tags with just about every kit that I get because I think tags are so versatile. So I have so many tag dies in my stash that I've pulled one of them out, and then I am going to run this through on that beautiful lilac cardstock twice so that I'll be making 2 tags. And I will run the bottom through of that tag onto some of that pattern paper that you see there, and I'm just going to trim those down so those are straight across the bottom or the top, and that they will fit on the tag very nicely. So for my sentiments, I also have a fishtail banner that I had die cut out, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment using some VersaMark ink onto the one, and then I will grab my reverse tweezers and put that into my white embossing powder and make a mess all over my workstation on top of it, and then I'll ink up the other one and do the same, but more sticking to one end because I only want that on the one end of the cardstock. And so then I'm going to start actually adhering my pieces together. Using that same liquid glue, I adhered down the bottom panel. And then I'm going to pull out the chipboard Love. I just thought that was so stinking cute. I want to make so many tags that say this because I thought that would be so fun. And then I'll take just a strip of some pink and I'm going to attach that down. Sometimes it's easier to put your glue right onto your project and adhere your piece down that way rather than try to guess where you need the glue on the back of your piece. Sometimes it's just easier that way, and in this instance it certainly was. Now I'm going to start peeling off the sticker back of the word love, and I'm using my reverse tweezers simply because my fingers, they're not big, but my texts would say otherwise simply because I am constantly screwing up whatever I'm texting, and it just seems easier to try and adhere these down with some reverse tweezers. And they're called reverse tweezers because when you press them, they don't close, they actually open, and so then when you let go, that is when you know that they are adhered to your piece. And then I'm going to take that liquid glue and adhere down the Handmade with Love, and this is why I didn't want to do it right in the center because I only wanted that sticking off the edge. And then I'll trim off that excess and set that one off to the side while I start to work on my other tag. So my other tag is going to have that love die, and I'm actually going to take that love die and I'm going to run that through some white cardstock that came in the kit. I'm going to do that about 3 times. So what you're seeing here is just the same thing that I did before, just adhering down those pieces. These tags are going to look very similar. just using some different elements up on top. But yeah, that love die, I just thought it would be fun. And yes, it's going to stick off the side, which is why I decided to die cut this 3 times. So this is a little bit heavier weight white cardstock, and this way this will really adhere, or it'll hold up nicely. And so yeah, it's going to stick off the edge, but I'm going to use that liquid glue to adhere that down. It's kind of fun. And then I'm going to put my foam tape directly onto my panel, and then this way I can center my flag banner a little bit better. And the flag banner sticks off the edges too, which I don't mind. I have some black and white baker's twine that I'm going to use as my tops. And then the same way I always do, I'll double it over, stick it through the center, and then stick those ends through the circle of twine, and then tie it off on the end. And these are great because you can leave them as tags, or you could take those and stick those on the front of a card, and you have a card made. So this is why I love tags so much. Card number 5 uses that stencil again because I just could not help it. So I have that tacked down to some washi tape or some post-it tape. And then I'm going to use my spatula along with some Nuvo golden crystal glimmer paste. I love this stuff. And a little goes a long way, so that's really nice. I'm just going to keep wiping up the excess and then putting that back in the jar. And then when I have good coverage, I am going to pull back the stencil and reveal what we have done. But first I'm going to actually take some press and seal, put that on top of my glimmer paste or glitter paste, and then close the jar. And then I'll take my stencil and my spatula to the sink and wash those off because I don't want that stuff drying to it. All right, I'm going to start adhering pieces. I did cut down a piece of pattern paper from the kit, just that yellow, because I thought that would go nice together. And then I'm going to border that. Now, the glimmer paste does dry pretty quickly. Now, I don't know if mine was actually completely dry. This is called lazy crafting, kids. And so I'm just doing my best to avoid the stars and just adhering that down to my panel. That panel is some of the blue cardstock that came in the kit, and I'm centering that because I just wanted it to be centered. That's why. And then I'm going to take the love die. I actually took the background and I cut that out of some vellum, and then I cut the black out just one time using the love die itself. And then I'm going to grab some of the Darice skinny strips, and I'm going to cut those down into little pieces, and I'm going to put those right behind the love die. So this die is great because it's not like super skinny, so you can use these little Darice skinny strips behind it. And this way you won't see your adhesive through the vellum. So it sticks pretty nicely just behind the love word itself, which is nice so that I can add a little bit of dimension. Now my camera did shut off, but what I did is I went ahead and adhered that down, and then I also stamped out my sentiment sent with on some of the yellow cardstock in the kit, and I adhered that down. And that will finish off card number 5. I do have a bonus card, which when I say bonus, that just means I made it off screen. So this uses the chipboard love word, and I stamped out the hearts in this kit, and then I also used some gold embossing powder from Brutus Monroe on top of that as well for some gold accents. Let's take a look at all the cards that I made using the Pink and Main Love is in the Air January 2020 card kit. I thought this kit was so much fun. I love all the colors, the vibrant colors. It's so fun and pretty, especially when we're in the throes of winter. I would love to know if you had a favorite of any of my projects. If you did, please leave that in the description box down below. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.